Thank you very much for joining us today. We've got some speakers that we will be introducing to you. So we'll introduce those speakers as we go through. As there are so many of you on the call, I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to go through everybody that's here. Otherwise, we'll be here to the end of the meeting, I think. But what I would say is if at any stage you want to ask a question, either pop your hand up if you know how to do that. There's an icon, sometimes it's at the bottom, sometimes it's at the top, and you can put your hand up. So for example, I'll just show you there. I can put my hand up and we'll come to you. If you can't do that, there is the chat box, and the chat box is often sort of labelled up show conversation, and it's like a bubble with lines in, and you can put your comments in there. And again, we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll bring those questions in at a later stage. In the meantime, if everybody could just put themselves on mute, because otherwise we just get a lot of feedback when we're going through. So I think that's what I need to say. We will have an evaluation at the end, a really brief evaluation that Megan will pop up. So hopefully you'll be able to complete that at the end as well.
And just to say as well that we're filming.
Yes, if anybody has any objections to filming, I guess the best thing to do would be to turn your video off, and we will make sure if you pop a note in the chat box that you don't want to be named or something, we'll edit you out of the film at the end, so of the recording. So without further ado, can I just introduce my team first, and then we'll get cracking with the meeting. So my name is Christine Footer. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here of Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support. Shall I go around? Pete, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm Pete Alder. I'm Information and Communications Executive. So you'll probably see my name with things like the e-bulletin that comes out, and I deal with our website and various other bits and pieces.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks. And then Megan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Oh, yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Megan, and I am Administration and Communications Executive. I'm sure most of you know me, and that's how you got here today, because I've been emailing you all. So thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you, Megan. Phil.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Phil Tilney, and I'm a Social Care Careers Ambassador.
Thank you, Phil. And then we've got a double act there. We've got Sarah and Katie. Sarah.
Hello everyone, lovely to see you all here today. I promote careers in social care to schools and colleges, and you'll know me from organising our Registered Managers Network meetings. So thanks for joining us, lovely to see you all today.
Thank you, Sarah. And Katie.
Hi everyone, some of you may know me from before. I've just returned from maternity leave. I am the Finance and Funding Executive here at Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, Katie. And yes, can everybody believe it's a year since Katie, well, over a year now, that Katie left, and her little one is over a year old. So welcome back, Katie. It's lovely to have you back. Valerie can't be here today because she just works on a Thursday, but we have got Valerie who supports with finance as well. So without further ado, Pete, did you want to pop up the slides for us? We're going to do a brief introduction and also to talk about what we're doing here at Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support, and then we're going to introduce some other speakers. So bear with us whilst we just get the presentation up.
It's just loading up now, it should be.
Thank you, Pete.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. And whilst that's happening,
it's quite a big presentation, lots of images, so it takes a while to load. It takes a little
while, yeah. So good morning to everybody that's put good morning in the chat box. Good morning, everyone, and lovely to see you. And here it comes. Yep, it's there, Pete.
Lovely. Right. So so this first section, we thought we'd run through just a few updates from ourselves before moving on to the guest speakers. So I will take us through some of these. So this is an update on the Data Security and Protection Toolkit and the Better Security, Better Care project that some of you may have had emails from myself and phone calls from Megan about. So just really quickly, this program of support that we can give around the DSPT is ongoing. It's actually just been extended until the end of March next year, and we hope maybe extended further. Really quickly, the Data Security and Protection Toolkit, if anyone hasn't heard of it, online toolkit to help you work through issues and the systems and processes that you have around data security and protection. The program that we are funded to deliver can provide you with a lot of support to help you complete that. We've got introduction and registration webinars that last just under an hour that I deliver, which talk you through what the toolkit is and how to register and then what to do next. Then we've got more detailed interactive workshops that last 2 hours each, and those are delivered by our partner approved training provider called White's Training. And we can also offer one-to-one support. So if you want to just can't make any of the organised sessions and you just want to talk to us about the situation and your data security and protection and the toolkit, you can contact us and we can arrange a one-to-one. If you've not really heard of it and you want to find out what your status is and where you're up to and what the situation is, and you want it explained, just get in contact with us and we can just work with you on a one-to-one basis to explain what it is and what's going on. So we have got some workshops, some webinars coming up soon. So we've got the introductory webinars. We've got one on Friday at 10 AM. We've got one next Monday at 2 PM. They're all advertised in the e-bulletin. So if you get the e-bulletin, they're in there, and they're also on the events pages of our website. So I say we're pleased that that's been extended to next year. So that's a quick update on the project for the toolkit. Workforce Development Fund. So we've still got quite a lot of funding to distribute for the Workforce Development Fund, and what I wanted to focus on today, just quickly, and I guess Karen might mention this later on. I'm not too sure because it's very new, and that I don't think Schools of Care are publicising it just yet, but we are for a particular reason. So with workforce development funding, where you can claim funding towards qualifications, a contribution towards them. It's not just about diplomas. A lot of what we fund is towards diplomas, but there is a big long list of other qualifications that can be funded. But Schools of Care have developed this new Leading Change, Improving Care. It's a 5-session program developed by Schools of Care, and it's delivered locally here by once again our local approved training provider, White's Care. So they've got some courses coming up soon. They've got a 5-day course in January, so it's 5 basically full days, and then another one in March. The cost of that is £500 plus VAT, but through workforce development funding, if you're eligible and you go through the process and we've still got the funding, you can claim £500 towards that. So that's just a quick update. But say we've got for the rest of the funding, which you can read about on our website in the funding area. You can download the updated list of the funded programs and qualifications, and there's a lot on there that you can do and get funding for, and the process of how to claim that funding is also on the website. So get in contact with us and claim that funding. Next, wellbeing resources. We've got a section, when we redesigned our website, we created a new section called the Information Hub, where we could store lots of useful information and guidance and links that would help you with your service. And we created a section around wellbeing. In fact, we created 3 sections. One, wellbeing for resources for using with your residents and service users. A second section for you as managers to help you support your staff, and a third section for you and care staff about yourselves and your own well-being. I've now, the next slide is an experiment, and it's hopefully going to be a little video that will show you where you can find it on our website to save me going off. But this is the first time I've ever used this, so I don't know whether it's going to work. It seems to be working my end. Is that okay? Yes. So this is our website, and you can see at the top there's Information Hub, and if you go up and click Information Hub, you will then get to the Information Hub. If you scroll down through all the different categories into the general area, you'll see those 3 blue boxes, which are the 3 wellbeing ones. If you click the residents and service users one, then you can scroll through and see all of the different resources that are available to use in there. And each one, there's a little description, and then you can click it and it will take you away to that resource or download that resource. And go back to the main menu, and I'll scroll down again, this time to click the one for you as managers. And it's got various helpline and various different documents from the government and all sorts of mind and different organisations, lots from Skills for Care, and you can find that there. And similarly, go down again, and the third one is resources that are specifically for for people that are working in social care to help you as individuals, and that's all available there. So that was that little video. That worked. Wow, that was good. So the next project, just to give you a quick update on, is the Developing Skills in Health and Social Care programme that you will see advertised in our e-bulletin quite a lot. Here's an image. This is the image of the brochure that lists all the courses that are fundable. The information, there's a section on our website around this. The update with this is just to say at some point soon, new courses are going to be added that will be funded. Which courses they are is being finalised as we speak. So within days, hopefully, we should be able to let you know which additional courses are going to be funded from that funding stream. And we'll send you links. So keep an eye on the e-bulletins over the next couple of weeks, and that should show you what's happening with that. We really want to improve the take up of this funding, or these free or fully funded courses or units. So once again, section on our website. The Norfolk and Suffolk County Councils are very keen to distribute these fully funded courses, and so it's funded by the European Social Fund, and we got quite a lot of money to do this, so we really want to take this up. And now, local recruitment campaign. So Emma, I think, is here. Is that right? We put these slides in at the last minute. Emma, did you want to just say a little bit about these and take over?
Yeah, happy to just cover off quickly about the recruitment campaign. So there's actually 2 running. There's your national recruitment campaign, which is Made with Care. That started in November and is running through till March next year. And we've got our local recruitment campaign, which we've had a great deal of funding for. So we now have commitment for several years. So we're running that through till March 2024, and that's called You Care. So on the slide, I've put a couple of examples of the adverts that we've got running at the moment. We're actually running this across a number of media channels. So we've got radio, TV, social, paid search and display advertising. We've got posters up. We've got virtual events taking place at key locations. We've got, if I didn't mention a TV ad, we've also got some personal career case study videos as well that we've been filming from individuals within the sector that we're using on YouTube to help explain and raise awareness about the different types of roles within social care and what they look like on a day-to-day basis. within different types of settings. We're doing some local PR. We're also running some trial recruitment workshops. These are done in conjunction with Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support, and also the virtual events will be in conjunction with Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support as well, to try to assist you with your recruitment. So the aim is basically to try to get people to consider working in care and look at bringing their transferable skills from other sectors. We've also, sorry, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. We're also, I'm just going to move Tim off of my off of my screen. Hang on. So how you can get involved?
I have admitted him. I think it's just
you.
taken a little minute to go through. Yeah.
Thanks. He was in the middle of my slide. So, so how you can get involved? Basically, you need to put all of your jobs onto the Norfolk Care Careers website, all of the advertising that we're doing, and all of the traffic that we are going to be getting from the national campaign will also be driving traffic to the Norfolk Care Careers website. So you need to put your jobs onto there. It's free to use. It's your free recruitment platform, and you can upload as many jobs as you like. If you need support with that, then by all means, please let me know and I can help you do that. We're also asking you to engage with our social media channels as well, and to like and share and comment on the videos, and get them spread as far as possible. I mean, in the local communities. So I've popped on there the details of our Facebook page and also the Twitter page. Also, we're running a number of virtual events. We're going to be releasing the calendar for those shortly. So if there are any in the areas that you are based in and you would like to take part, please, by all means, email into our central inbox and let us know. We tend to have about 3 different providers per event, because the events are only for an hour, and they're online, so they're very accessible. We've had good feedback from those providers that have taken part in them so far. Also, we are looking to record some more career case study videos, because obviously having the videos is key to helping people to understand the sector better and understand those roles better. So, and they're used in schools and colleges as well. So if you would like to take part in those, please email in again. We're particularly looking for people who perhaps have been a graduate within the sector, or an apprentice, or perhaps just an interesting story. They've come from a different background with different transferable skills that we think we may be able to utilise within this sector. So please just contact us, and if you need any more information, by all means, just come through and we can support you with that.
Thank you, Emma. I just put a few of the images from the national campaign up there as well. So there is the national campaign. The link to that, it was in our last e-bulletin as well, and the recruitment guide. So thanks for that. And the last update from us is just a couple of dates that we're continuing with the care provider Q&A meetings, and the next one of those is on the 16th of November. And the monthly virtual now registered managers network meetings, the next one of those is on the 23rd of November from 2 till 3 p.m. So that is the updates from us. So if I can stop presenting.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you very much. I've noticed a couple of comments in the chat box, so I have answered a couple of these. Poor Tim's having terrible trouble.
I know. I don't know quite what's happening here. I keep admitting him.
I think he's in now, isn't he? Let me just double check. Just if not, I think we might need to send.
Tim, are you in now?
Yeah.
Yes, he's in.
Oh, excellent. Oh, welcome, Tim. We were having trouble admitting you, but you're here. That's fantastic. Thanks, Tim. Thanks. Yeah, we're just going back to the comments in the chat box. Got some more people coming in as well. There was one from Mark, which was around the European Social Fund training, and he made a very good point here about do they have a long time, bearing in mind Brexit, or is it use it or lose it soon? So just to clarify, it's until the end of August 2022, but there is a request going in to extend for another year, and it's highly likely it will be extended for another year. So we still have funding at least until the end of August and potentially for another year. So it's something to bear in mind as well. And remember, they're fully funded courses which are accredited. The other thing in here, which I think is an important one to raise, which was Hayley. She's raised the point that Norfolk Care Careers, she's been on there for a while now and haven't had any inquiries, any advice on having better results. Emma, I know we're doing quite a bit. Oh, it says my sound is very quiet. Can you hear me?
That's better now.
Is that better?
It was your mic was too low.
It was my mic was too low. So thank you, Annalise, for pointing that out. Norfolk Care Careers, they haven't had any inquiries for a while. Emma, did you want to come in? Because I know we're going to do quite a bit of work on promoting the site and doing a bit more to get some footfall to it, really. So did you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. So I would suggest making sure that your adverts are actually live on there. If you put a closing date on it originally, then that's the date that it will disappear off of the website and it won't be live anymore. So you need to make sure that you keep continually refreshing your adverts and making sure they're actually live. I would actually also have different adverts for different locations as well, rather than trying to put a number of locations into one advert. And then also to say that actually we started the campaign as a soft launch on the 4th of October. And so far, I'm just trying to get up my analytics for you. So far, we've had over 3,000 visitors to the website and over 100 applications coming through. So people are clicking on the apply now and the call now buttons. So you can see the traffic is there. I would suggest also having a look at the wording of your adverts and making sure that it's as appealing as possible. We are actually doing some recruitment trial workshops with Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support, where we're looking at how the recruitment process is currently working for providers and any tips and hints on how we can do that differently and perhaps think about presenting the roles differently and the wording that's used in adverts. So if we do decide to roll that out, I would suggest if you can get onto those to doing that. We'll just have to see how the trial goes really, but hopefully we'll be able to roll that out further and enable more of you to attend.
Thanks, Emma. And there's another supplementary question here, is how do we post jobs on Norfolk Care Careers?
Okay, so you need a partner login, which is in the top right-hand corner of the website. I'll put the link to the website in the chat box in a minute. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Tim, my assistant today. So you just need to create a partner login if you don't already have one, which is in the top right-hand corner of the website, and then click on the new register and click to register as a new user. Again, if you need any support with that, then please do let me know. We'll create you a company profile if you don't already have one, and then we'll send you instructions of how to upload your vacancies. It's very simple, and it literally just takes a few minutes to load onto there.
Thank you, Emma. Okay, well, I think that's it, unless anybody else has any more questions or well, we can move on then. Karen, can I introduce you, Karen? Karen is from Skills for Care, and we usually see Fran, but Fran is on maternity leave. So welcome again, Karen, because I know you've been here before. So welcome back.
Lovely. Thank you. It's lovely to be back. I do like covering Norfolk for Fran. I'm not sure how many more babies she's going to have. So yeah, so it's very nice. And she had her baby girl last week. So just by way of an update, so baby Emily. So they're both doing well at the moment. So so that's really good news.
Oh, that's lovely news, Karen. And thanks for sharing that. And please send our best wishes to her.
I will do. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So I've got some slides by way of an update for you. You just get the image of my screen sharing face while I have a bit of a panic on where it starts. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's all up now for us as well.
Thank you. Just need to find it on my screens. Okay. Ah, there we go. Go back to the beginning. I was flicking through. So one of the first things that I wanted to share with you is an event that we have at, on the 24th of November. So this is in partnership with CQC, and we're focusing on nominated individuals. So the event is delivered in partnership with them. They're going to be talking about the roles and responsibilities of nominated individuals. I was just flicking through their draft slides earlier. So they're going to talk about what is a nominated individual, the legal requirements, the roles and responsibilities. They're going to talk about the dual role of the nominated individual and registered manager, and the relationship between the NI, the RM and CQC inspector. So what that relationship looks like. So we've got quite a few people joined kind of nationally. It'd be lovely to see some more local people to come along. So there's about 300 people that are registered on that so far. And then they're also doing a live Q&A session, which I think is very good of them to kind of hear all of those concerns and respond to them at the time. And then we're going to have just half an hour breakout sessions into regional areas to discuss, first of all, what CQC, the response to what CQC are saying, and if there's anything that regionally that we can support kind of the nominated individual role. So the link will be on the slides, and we'll send the slides out afterwards. So that's the nominated individual event. The other exciting thing that we have is networks for deputy managers. So these could be deputies or team leaders or assistant managers. So these are a virtual online meeting of deputy managers or equivalent for the Eastern region. So I shall be setting the dates for next year's meeting soon. So if people are interested and want to join the deputy manager networks, they can drop me an email and I can add them to the mailing list. What we tend to do at the meetings is really we have a theme for each of the meetings. So the themes we've had so far are around confidence, personal effectiveness, well-being, delegation, communication. So we kind of run on a theme, so we're not just kind of all looking at each other for an hour or so, with the opportunity to build connections and really build peer support. So we have lots of lovely support for registered managers, and that's very good for in Norfolk. The resource is very good, and we're also looking for the Eastern region to support the deputies, which in turn we like to think and hope, and we've had feedback on, that this supports the registered manager and the service as well. So it's just a bit of an acknowledgement for the deputies also. We've just released the state of the adult social care sector workforce. So these two big kind of data reports look at the state of report and regional reports. So what does the workforce look like? So from on a national point of view, and then from that they'll also be broken down into regional reports on what the workforce looks like. And from the website this morning, I just took a snapshot of some of the infographics that we have on the website. So this is, so you're looking at Norfolk. This is a summary of the adult social care workforce. So we can see there's nearly 30,000 jobs in Norfolk, nearly 500 CQC establishments. So it gives you a bit of an overview. At the top, there are different coloured tabs. So you can click on any of those things and look at Norfolk. So obviously recruitment and retention is a key factor at the moment. So this gives an overview of recruitment and retention for Norfolk. So you can see the turnover rate. This is for figures for 2020, 2021. So this is going to be updated at the end of the month. So the number of leavers is at nearly 34%. And the vacancy rate you can see there is 5.5%. I think what's interesting is that there's 63% of people who leave their role remain in the sector. So it's good for the sector that we retain that knowledge and experience, but it just shows there's kind of potentially lots of movement for different roles and different care homes moving around the sector, and kind of links into Emma was talking about with the careers campaign. We want to recruit new people into the sector as well as retaining our existing staff. What you can also do is compare and contrast your local authority area with others in the region to compare those things. So this is just the turnover vacancy rate that I've compared for. It gives you all of the Eastern vacancy rate percentages. So you can, not that it eases any of your recruitment issues at the moment, but you can just compare from a local authority point of view. It's just interesting to see how it compares with other in the region, for example. So you can see that Norfolk there is at 5% compared to Thurrock at 1% and Southend at 11%, their vacancy rates. So this is all on the website if you wanted to have a look, if you're really geeky, which I am, so I love to look at all of that. So with all of that in mind, and with the national recruitment campaign and the local recruitment campaign, so we're also having a focus on retaining staff. So we want to retain our staff. We don't want to leave and recruit. So we've got a bit of a spotlight, resources that we have a focus on staff retention at the moment. So there's the link to find out more about our resources and blogs and support to help with retention. So that will take you straight to all of that information from the link on the slide. So we mentioned a little bit about all of that workforce data. So this is part of the adult social care data workforce data set. I can never get those around the right way. So in old money, this is the NMDS. So from late November, we have a number of benefits that are going to support the data set. So for providers, I understand it's one of your requirements under PAMS that you have a data set account and that you update it every year. And then these are just some of the benefits that you get from doing that. So you can see from the slide, there's money off all the bookshop, there's money off seminars, there's registered manager membership discounts, and there's money for learning modules, which I'll talk about in a second. So from having an account and keeping it up to date, you can access all of the WDF funding, which Pete spoke about earlier, for the Leading Change and Improving Care. To support this, we have a webinar coming up, which gives you an overview of what the workforce data set is and how to use it and what it looks like. And then the following day is a live demonstration of what it looks like and how you can use it. So it kind of shows you step by step on how to do it. So those are up and coming. The links, as I said, are on the slide to register for those if you're interested. They will also be recorded and put on our website as well, so you can watch it at your leisure. So that will take just a couple of days to go up onto the website. So this also links into the Workforce Development Fund, as we've touched on. So the fund, which Pete explained, has a number of different uses that you can use. There's a list on the Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support website on what you can use to access the funding. But I've just got a couple to highlight, which I think are really useful. The first one being learning from events. So this was launched at the end of last year as a response to the winter planning. So initially, this was developed for providers to learn from events. So if there was a COVID outbreak, is what it was set up for. How did that happen? What can we learn from that? So it's a 360 view, everyone involved on what happened and how we can learn and move from that. So this learning from events is a course that you can access from our website. It takes around just over half an hour. It's free. So you can do it, it's free, it takes half an hour. It gives you all the tools and resources to be able to carry out a learning from events review. And also the big bonus to this is that you're able to claim £100 from the WDF fund with Pete and everybody at Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support. So you can claim £100 for completing the training. It's free to access. Each person gets £100 for claiming it as long as your data set is up to date. And another training course with a similar vein really is the Care Certificate Assessor e-learning course. So this is 2 25-minute sessions. This is training and support with resources for people who are assessing the care certificate in-house. And again, so employers can claim £100 from WDF for everyone who successfully completes the course. So there's two good kind of opportunities, one for learning and also claiming from the WDF really. And the other one that I wanted to highlight is some CPD, some digital learning for managers. So we've got 11 modules for either new managers, aspiring managers. This will support leadership, success in planning and developing future talent. So these are the units listed on the slide. There is a £10 cost for each of these modules, but you can claim £100 back per module per unit once you've completed it. So it costs £10, you can claim £50 back per module. The other news or update is that our bookshop is now open, so have a look on our webpage for all the resources that you're able to purchase alongside all of the other free resources that we have on our website. Excuse me, getting a bit croaky. We have, I know you'll be aware of all the webinars that we have because you do a good job of sharing that in the e-bulletin, but it's just a reminder that they're there, they're on our website. If you've missed them, they're there to download, to view. These are really just 30 minutes long, so they're quite accessible and achievable to watch for half an hour as opposed to kind of a long kind of 2-hour session. Each of the webinars has a bite-sized resource, so a quick thing that you can just click on and view. So if it's around effective supervision, there'll be kind of a quick, which is the next session. There'll be a quick form that you can use and top tips and a resource to go with it. So developing supervision skills to support your staff is the up and coming webinar that's happening live on the 7th of December. This will be recorded and, as I said, it will be available on our website. Only one that isn't half an hour, just to completely contradict myself, is medicines from a regulatory perspective. So this is part 2. Part 1 is on our website and we carried this out in partnership with CQC. So it's very popular and I think it felt that it needed more time than the usual half an hour webinars. So this is a look at medications and best practice with CQC around medicines in care homes and dom care settings. That's just about the bite resources, which I've mentioned. For people who enjoy a podcast, we have our second series and the first episode is out now. So our podcast locality managers are joined by Kate Cerrone. So she's the Chief Inspector at CQC. So she talks to Pia and Kate about her experience from joining social care and what that looks like. Just a reminder, we have a membership for registered managers, which is £35 a year, and you can see from the slide of the benefits that the membership includes. So you get a free hardback resource handbook, so like a physical book. We have monthly newsletters, exclusive resources when you renew, and kind of discounts and kind of first view of anything that we're collaborating on or seeking information on really. So it's a bit bespoke for those members. A reminder around the offer we have around CQC and what we can support with. And just this is something that we've requested really to share with providers and yourselves. So as Skills for Care, we gather a lot of market intelligence and information about what's happening on the ground, and we do a lot of work with the Department of Health and Social Care, and that we feed that back. We're not not a lobbying organisation, but we do kind of influence with kind of data and this on the ground market intelligence. So we do feed these themes back to the department. So more recently, we've spoken to them about hospitality and tourism opening up, obviously the recruitment and retention, and also that is backed up with the evidence from the data set. So it's really important that you update your data set, because that's evidence. There's no way you can kind of argue or deflect from that. Well, I'm not going to say anything. It talks about the staff shortages and the confusions around vaccinations. So all of this data, we do feed back all of this market intelligence. We don't kind of mention who or where it's come, but these are just themes that we feed back internally, and then that gets fed back to the department. We have an advice line for managers as just a reminder. There is still free essential training for induction and refresher training. So White's training in Norfolk are one of our endorsed providers, as well as Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support, that provides this rapid induction programme. So this is still in a response to COVID. So once you get staff, so this is a free rapid induction programme for your staff, and they also do refresher training. So this is still funded at the moment. I've talked a lot about recruitment and retention. So we have our values-based approaches to recruitment and retention. These are online workshops. A few years ago, when Fran first had her baby, I remember going to Norwich Football Club, and we did this face-to-face, and I really miss doing that. But we've still got this offer that we like to share with the sector. So now this is online, and it's over Zoom. They're 90 minutes long, but I do have fond memories of going to Norfolk Football Club, delivering this to you in Norfolk. And some resource, again, some well-being. I'll just leave these here in the slides, because obviously these links to your website. And that's it. That's a lot of information. Sorry to flood you with all of that.
Thank you, Karen, but it's very, very comprehensive, and obviously we will be able to share the slides, Karen.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously it's recorded as well, so we'll have it both ways. We'll share the slides, but it's also will be on the YouTube as well. So that's fantastic. There's been a couple of questions in here. One's from Raj. Raj says, how will the Deputy Manager Network differ from the Registered Manager Network events?
So the registered manager are different because we have a theme that we talk around. I've not been to one of the Norfolk registered managers, so I can only tell you what the deputies look like. So it's kind of an opportunity to share with each other, support each other, as I said, talk around a theme. We haven't had any speakers in as yet, but the network, they may decide that they want to have a speaker, and it's online, and yeah, so I don't know. It's not that different to a registered manager, but the focus is different. So yeah, so we're not duplicating anything that happens in a registered managers. So we're aiming it as a deputy managers as opposed to kind of as a registered manager. So we're not diluting anything that happens for the registered managers, or yeah, or duplicating it.
Yeah, Raj, is that okay? Excellent. Yes, that's fine. And the other point here is from Tim. Tim mentions that it's not a requirement of PAMS to do the workforce data set.
Okay.
But providers do have to demonstrate GDPR compliance.
Yeah. Well, Tim, when we spoke, it was Guy Pentingale. I couldn't get his surname right. He told me that from ADAS, so he told me that it was section 9.2 from the PAMS, on the PAMS, whatever it is, requirement.
Yeah, and but PAMS isn't a statutory sort of piece of activity. So whilst we look for it there as best practice, We can't require it through PAM, so there's no statute that says it has to be done.
Oh.
Obviously, what we're trying to do is we encourage providers to do it, because it's the only way we can collect the information that that goes into that national data set. But there isn't actually a statutory requirement to do it, so that's why I just made that. That's why I made that.
Sorry if I was misleading with that, but yeah, it's just it's a PAM requirement, and yeah, for sure we can't enforce it. I think that's why there's lots of funding attached to it to encourage people to do it rather than make people do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that the word is recommended rather than required, but yeah, that's fantastic. But thank you, Karen. Is there any other questions here from anybody else on the meeting that they want to put to Karen before we move on? Thank you so much, Karen, though. That was very comprehensive, and there's some fantastic resources and support available. The webinars are excellent, so hopefully people will take advantage of them, because they are very good. And I do have to say the report is excellent, and I'm a bit geeky with statistics and everything, so it suits me very well.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, all right then. Well, thank you very much, Karen. We'll go on to Tim. Tim, welcome, Tim, and you will get your time this time.
I'm going to get my whole time. Look, I've even got an extra minute. I've even got an extra minute.
There you go.
Thanks to Skills for Care for giving me that extra minute. Fantastic. Let me see if I can. Do let me know when you can see my screen, because I then might need to see you for a little bit.
Yep, that's all come up now.
Great. Okay. So I've got 20 minutes, but I'm not going to take 20 minutes. You'll be pleased to know, and I haven't got 39 slides, just a few, less than 10. So if you are counting, thinking when we're going to get to the end, it'll be less than 10. Okay. So I'm not going to tell you exactly how many. I'm just trying to make this difficult for Megan to do the editing afterwards. That's all. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to give you a basic overview of exactly where we're at with quality in Norfolk at the moment, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up about an improvement and escalation policy that we'll be launching anytime soon, just to give you some headlines about what's in there and get some feedback from just about that. If you think it ought to have something else in it, or you think it definitely shouldn't have some of the stuff I'm going to say, there's an opportunity to do it there just before we go to formal consultation with you on that document. Or I'll leave a bit of time at the end just if you've got any questions about anything that I've said, or anything else that I might need to help you with. So here's a bit of an overview about where we're at to start with, and people have, I think maybe somebody said it in the chat already about QA. We've rebranded. We actually rebranded over a year ago, and it's not for no reason. But we are the integrated quality service, because that kind of tells you what we are. You know, we are integrated because we do have CCG colleagues in the team. So you know, in terms of planning for the future and our integrated care sector piece that we're doing into next year, we're sort of preparing for that, and we have done for more than a year to integrate our team, which we have been even before we actually amalgamated. We're working very closely with our quality improvement license, but the main reason that actually we wanted to change the name was because QA is also another department in Norfolk County Council. It's quite confusing when we've got a QA department that deals with social work quality, and that's a counterpart team. So that's another reason for changing the name. So when we call ourselves IQS, you'll know what we mean when we say that. So to give you a bit of an update on PAMS, so many services I know when we spoke last time, you kindly, and without receiving a check in the post or a pastry, you kindly gave us some fantastic feedback about some of the PAMS that we've been doing since we restarted in May, and I can tell you that we've completed over 70 PAMS, but we've published 65 already. I guess some of the overall feedback is difficult to give at this time, because that's a relatively small number. Obviously, we've got more than 400 providers that we need to get around on PAMS. So given we started by looking at those that were either high risk because they were of concern to us, or because it's been a long time since anybody had crossed the threshold to have a look at them, so that would be us as a local authority or CQC as a regulator. Wherever there'd been a long gap, then we would go back into those services and prioritise those as well. So those are our criteria for going in. And there's a consequence, I guess, of that, and of the fact that there'd been a lot of there'd been a big gap anyway in terms of people across thresholds because of COVID. We were finding more concerns than not, actually. So it's maybe not that surprising at this early stage that most of those PAMs were rated less than compliant. Having said that, we got some that were rated compliant during that time as well, which is great testimony to providers who managed to hold it together over possibly the most challenging time that any provider's ever had in the history of providing care services. So it's really, really good to see some positive outcomes to some of those 65 PAMs as well. I think we're being transparent. I think hopefully you know that I'd always be transparent with you. If we get things wrong, I'll fess up to that. I'm the first to say it. So we have had really positive feedback to the PAMs, and we have started evaluating as well. So if you've had a PAMs, you'll know that after the visit has happened, we'll send you an email asking you to rate us. That's before you get your draft report of the PAMs, because we really want to know at that point how you felt about the visit, and we're asking you to be honest with us about that. The QMO doesn't get to see that, so the officer that conducts the PAMs doesn't get to see that feedback, but it's really important for us as a service to understand how the experience was for you about the PAMs. You'll know in due course you'll get the opportunity to remark on the factual accuracy of the report, and there's a process about that. We really want to know how the visit feels to you at the point of just having had that PAMs. Really important for us, because it is there to support you. And if you feel anything other than that, then I want to know about it, because it means we need to rejiggle how we're doing it. It is there to support you. We're obviously going to give you constructive feedback as well. So, so some of that, depending on how you take it, you may feel, well, actually, we didn't need telling that we were getting that not quite right. But if you embrace it in the way it's intended, then hopefully we're all going to be happy about that process. So we will look at the evaluation we give at the end of the process. So of the 5% that weren't favourable in terms of feedback, I want to touch on those. Really important. 3 of them turned into complaints. And we do deal with complaints separately from the PAMs process. And some providers are struggling to get that because they interlink the 2 things inextricably. But if they're unhappy about the outcome of the PAMs report, for example, then they may make a complaint about it. But I think what's really important is that we allow, in the same way that you do with CQC reports, you've got your opportunity to factually to address them from a factual accuracy point of view and come back to us with remarks, and then you've got an opportunity to review the final report as well. We want the same process happens with PAMs. We'd like that bit to happen before we deal with a formal complaint, if there is a formal complaint, but we will deal with it. And we have had a couple of complaints, 2 that we've dealt with successfully, and 1 that is still in progress at the moment. So it's just to make you aware that that process does remain open to you to complain, but we do want the PAMs process to stand on its own and deal with the facts of the matter of what we found at the visit first. So that's that. I'll give you some headline information on vaccinations here as well. This is from data from last night, so it will have changed in the next couple of hours. Capacity track will update and we'll get another report. But these numbers are steadily increasing, which is great, because you can see them. I mean, what are we? 2 days away from D-Day. From the 11th, which means that if there's any staff who, any staff, we're talking about care homes here, obviously, who've yet to have their second dose, and they've still got some hours left to get them. And do encourage them if there are. We know in Norfolk we're doing really, really rather well compared to other local authorities in the east of England and nationally, in fact, in terms of our take up. So well done for encouraging, cajoling, buying pastries for, or however else you've managed to do it, to get your staff to take up their vaccinations. It's amazing. It really is amazing. So you've done some fantastic work for them to do that. So well done on that. But that does still leave us with a deficit, and everybody's talking about it. You can't get away from the fact that one way or the other we're losing staff because of the vaccination, amongst other reasons, of course. But we're doing our utmost best to see how we can support providers at a very challenging time for the local authority as well, in terms of being able to meet those gaps that you have. But we recognise that. The key for us to be able to recognise where those gaps are, though, is for you to keep the capacity tracker up to date. if I had a quid for every time I said, please keep the capacity tracker up to date, I certainly wouldn't need to be sitting in this shed, but please do keep the capacity tracker up to date. It is the only way we know for certain from you about the vaccination status of your people. If you go onto capacity tracker and don't update the vaccination status, then we'll know. So, so please do update it. I will be talking about. We're doing a piece for Norfolk and Suffolk Care Support newsletter, and we'll be talking about how we use the information from capacity tracker a little bit in there as well, so that you can understand why it is that I'm always banging on about updating the capacity tracker, as well as it being a national message. And you know, it would be foolish of me not to remark on where we sit as a county as far as quality is concerned, but I'll just come to that with a little table shortly, just so you can see how badly we're doing. This is not great news, but we'll move over it quickly in terms of looking at how we're going to do some improvement, as well as reflecting on the fact that we're in such a parlous state from a quality perspective. For those of you that haven't seen it, one of the enhanced parts of our services is growing our number of people, because we, with a very large number of providers in Norfolk, regulated settings and non-regulated settings, because we are looking, as I'll come to it later, we're also looking at auditing some services that are new to being audited by the council. So with such a large number of providers out there, and with such a quality deficit that we had to expand our team to be able to meet the need of getting around. So that's what we've done. And although you may not be able to read it on the screen, it's rather small, you'll be able to see it afterwards on the slides circulated. This is how our structure looks at the moment. And some of you, either you yourselves or colleagues in your services, will be familiar perhaps with Sarah and Wendy, and I want to give them a special shout out, because they're our care sector engagement officers. They do a lot of the contact work around one, capacity tracker, but also around outbreak management. So they support the quality monitoring officers around collecting information, signposting, and liaising with partner agencies where you may have an outbreak, but also in relation to information that you supply into capacity tracker. So if you get a call from Sarah or Wendy, or your colleagues do, please do facilitate the questions that they're asking, because that very much is there to support you, so that we can make sure that we're prioritising and directing attention to you where you need it, particularly in relation to where, for example, the current issues which you already talked about. I'm sorry, it's a bit late into this meeting, and that's around access to boosters and access to flu vaccinations, for example. So Wendy and Sarah are key contacts with you in relation to bottlenecks there and pinch points, and we will use the information that they collect to divert resources from health to you where we can see that there's problems. So that's a little bit about our structure. I'm not going to dwell on this, because some of you I know definitely seen this slide before when my senior Stephen Long presented only a couple of weeks ago. It feels like we're meeting far too often. Are we meeting too often? Anyway, you'll have seen this slide before, so it's just some of the feedback. But I do, I fess up, not all of our feedback is positive, but only 5% of it isn't. So we're working on that. We are using that constructively to improve the way we work. Anyway, you can read some of these lovely statements that some of you have made. I'm not even sure you could even find your own words there, because if you've done the evaluation, then that would be your words. I know Raj just itching to say, yeah, that was me that said that to him, because he's really after the pastry. But anyway, there it is. So just to say where we sit, let's say we visit in Norfolk. I'm sorry, this is a slightly fuzzy slide, and I will improve it for the circulation. So I'm sorry I didn't realise it expanded to be fuzzy like this. But although it looks like we're right at the top of the table, in fact, the top of the table is not a good thing on this table, because it means we're in the worst position. This is our family group. So there's 15 local authorities on there. It looks like more because there's a couple of extra lines there from this spreadsheet. There's 15, and they are the family group relate to local authorities who have, according to the government, similarities with Norfolk for one reason or another. And it could be about population. It could be around, well, it's not solely around population, it's around things like rurality, where we've got some very rural areas, as do some of these other authorities. And it's also about areas of deprivation as well. So there's a whole multifactorial piece of work that goes behind what determines our family. This is our family, whether we like it or not. You know, you can't choose your family. You can choose your friends, you can't choose your family. Government has given us this family, so this is who we're compared with. And regrettably, even though this family will change shortly, because we are going to lose some of our family members, hopefully it'll be the ones that are almost as bad as us. That would be good. But we're going to be attracting Northampton, both of the new Northampton authorities. Of course, you'll remember Northamptonshire split from 1 into 2, and we're bringing those 2 in as well. But we're sitting in this awkward place with less than with only 72%, just over 72% of our services compliant. And we really do need to do something about that, because the gap between us and the next worst one, as you can see, Warwickshire is a big one, and then the rest of them fly by. So we are doing things about that. One of the things we're doing about that is to look at putting into writing something that we've been doing since shortly after I came to the council at the end of 2018, which is to commit to writing our improvement escalation policy. So here I'm just going to touch on some of the headlines that are in that, and it's really important, like I say, to say that what we're doing is putting something in writing that we've been doing for the best part of 3 years now. It'll be 3 years come early next year. So for providers that have been subject to some of the actions that we've taken, it will come as no surprise that this is what we do, because they've already been subject to it, and we explain our processes really clearly. So even when we'll have a policy in place, we'll be working with providers really closely to explain where they are on a sliding scale. You know, are they providers that we're supporting to become better? Obviously, that's what we're doing for as many providers as we can. That's why we've expanded our team. Or are they providers who actually have a history of never being compliant? I don't think I'm talking to anybody in this room, but providers that have never had a history of being compliant and really can't demonstrate to us the capacity to become compliant, in which case then we'll be looking at the other element of this policy, which is how do we shape them out of the market, to be frank, because they're damaging for us. They're damaging for us as a county. They're damaging for you as well, because if you're a compliant provider, what you don't want is to be surrounded by people who are not compliant, because actually that damages the effect on the market in different ways, but it does damage the effect on the market. So we don't want to be in that place, and this policy helps us to get out of that place. So we're talking a little bit about our Care Act responsibilities in Section 5, which is to promote diversity and quality in the care market. But we're also talking about the role of of my team in particular in gatekeeping providers that are coming onto contracts. So historically, there's been quite a challenge in Norfolk around commissioning. And you know, we're shaping up our game in relation to that, and my service is really key in ensuring that we've got a good gatekeeping function, that we're not bringing onto a local authority contract providers who aren't shaping up to be able to do the job well, because little point in us taking, you know, escalation activity at the other end of the scale where providers are not compliant if we're also letting non-compliant providers in. And providers that don't have a local authority contract, if they aren't any good, then they don't have a future. So that's the bottom line, because they're not going to be able to attract privately funded clients, for example, and that itself enhances the level of care across the county. So it's really important that we have a good gatekeeping function. We set out in the policy exactly how we do that. We also talk about, this is the key bit for you, how we do our support. Obviously, the key bit for that is PANS and our quality monitoring visits, but we do have other ways of supporting you as well as signposting, as well as the skills and experience that sit within our team to be able to encourage improvements and to signpost different ways of doing things, and all the other resources that sit within the council and the partners to be able to support you to improve and get that cherished outstanding rating that we all want you to get. And then we'll also touch on the escalation bit, which is around where providers are failing against the contracts. And you know that we've taken some action over the course of 2019 and up until the beginning of the pandemic to take action in relation to providers that are significantly not providing good quality care and taking action in relation to their contracts. That's not enough. Too many people in this room. So we explain PANS. You know, it's always, providers often say, even when they've had a PANS, you know, we still don't really understand how it works. So we send an email explaining how it works. We've got lots of good information on our website, including FAQ about how PANS works. So we'll set it out in the policy really clearly. But there's one thing we won't explain, and that is how the algorithm works, because we really don't know. That's the truthful and honest answer. So when you receive your draft PANS reports, you'll see that it's scored, and it's scored and rated against each of the questions that we ask in each of the key questions, in rather similar way that CQC do that invisibly. They don't score each bit, they just write a whole chunk of stuff that's now in bullet points, quite unhelpfully, I think, but there it is. They don't score the individual bits, but CQC will score you by domain, just a 5, and then an overall rating. And then in the PANS, we get something like 16, depending on which type of service you are, 16 questions that are individually rated. And then there's an algorithm that goes on behind the scenes in the PAN machine that then delivers an overall rating. And because we put so many lower level ratings on, it's absolutely impossible for us to work out, or we have tried to work out how, when we're doing the individual ratings, the machine arrives at the overall rating. Each of the questions is weighted slightly differently, so as you might expect, safeguarding questions attract a greater weighting if they're not compliant, or any questions relating to safe or well led, to use CQC expressions. Those will be more heavily weighted than others, but we still haven't been able to manage to fathom out exactly how that algorithm works. So you know, we can't tailor it to achieve the overall result. The key message, though, I guess, about that is that, irrespective of the outcome, what we really want to do is make sure that the report is factually correct. And if you agree that it's factually correct, then we can work with you to produce your action plan, and then work through to support you to achieve what you put into your action plan. And that's really the key thing about it. If you can make all the mistakes you want with PANS, so can we, but as long as we got an overall product, that's fine, then that will put you in the best possible place for when CQC turn up. That's really how we want to use it, so that we can address anything before the regulator gets there, and then drive you up towards outstanding. So the policy will also go on to talk about restrictions and how we use those. We've got a lot of restrictions on services in the county at the moment. I think at the last count there's over 50 services that were subject to some type of restriction, whether that's a full restriction or partial restriction, or the type of restriction that we use called a consult to place. So for providers that aren't familiar with that, that's where we've got concerns about quality, and before an NCC referral is made into your service, we'll review that referral. You'll know that we're reviewing it because we won't do this secretly. We're transparent about all of these processes. So if you are subject to any kind of restriction, you'll know about it before the restriction is imposed. We will spell that out in the policy so that you can see really clearly about, 1, how we impose them, 2, how we review them. We review them every single month because it's in our interest and yours to relax them or remove them as soon as we can. We don't want to restrain your trade any more than we need to, but we do need to make sure that your services meet a critical quality criteria before we do that. So we'll set out all that as well. We're also setting out, watching the time, I've only got 10 minutes left, watching out how to, oh no, maybe I'm at time. No, I might be at time.
You're at your time.
I'm actually at my time. I've gone on far too long. But anyway, you can see these. So information sharing, that's kind of speaks for itself. Governance, that speaks for itself. Safeguard, that speaks for itself. I've done it. You can read the slide later. Let me quickly talk to you about what's new. How am I holding up? Who am I holding up in the list? Okay, so these are the new things that we're going to do. Day opportunities, so that's day services in old parlance, and domestic abuse settings. We're going to be doing some auditing of those. The day services we've already started. We've done that in pilot. We'll be rolling that out sort of formally from next year. But domestic abuse settings we'll be starting to do next year. We're doing some scoping work at the moment, and so that's part of the work we're doing to expand. We're also working in terms of learning disability services across the board. That's in day services, residential and supported living schemes, anywhere where needs of people with learning disabilities. Doing a big piece of work with PBS UK. And providers of LD services to look at how we can improve our commissioning of those services, but also how we can ensure that our our team, my team, are skilled up to be able to audit you effectively in relation to those as well. I'll give you some really good pointers on how to get that right, because it is a tricky thing if you're not used to doing PPS. It's a tricky thing to get it right. So we want to make sure all of my team have had training, and we've got additional training coming up on that as well. A bit of a plea here about NRS, because this is a case of you said we did at a previous meeting. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said it. This is me doing it, about making sure that our NRS colleagues who provide equipment into care homes and some other settings can demonstrate evidence of their one, their vaccination status, but two, their negative COVID status from a test as well. So please treat them as you do NHS professionals and us when we're going. But yes, they should be able to present to you evidence of a negative test that's conducted within 72 hours. That's the one to go for. And if they aren't, please would you get in contact with your QMO? We'll escalate that, because I've put a message across to those colleagues. They should be able to present that. If they can't, then it's reasonable for you to deny them access. We know that you will. So, but please let us know, because we want to be able to sort that out. DCAs, I'm writing some guidance with Becky, who might have been on earlier, or no, she's on later, and others around safeguarding alerts for dom care providers and making a decision about whether to safeguard an incident where there's been a late or a missed call. So it will have the same sort of structure as the medicines guidance, which is very well received. So I'm going to catch it in much the same way. We will consult with a few providers before we put it out there, but we hope that will be useful for domiciliary care agencies. I've already done the clear that capacity tracker. And finally, just before I go, because I know I'm very late, I put in apples, broccoli and cucumbers just yesterday. One of the Quins told me something that was news to me, and I thought I knew everything there was to know about hydration. Obviously I didn't. I figured that apples were probably quite juicy, cucumbers, well, everybody knows that, but broccoli, seriously, did you know broccoli, it's got almost that amount of broccoli, almost that amount of water. Okay, you may remember nothing about this presentation except for this, but if you've got people who are dehydrating, particularly if they like broccoli, that's the way to go for people who are really struggling. You know, that was news to me, so I wanted to share it with you because I was so excited about it. I had no idea, but there it is. I've run over. Really sorry to whoever's following me, and I can see there's loads of questions. If it would help, I'll try to answer them in the chat so that I'm not holding up the person that I've delayed that's coming after me. Would that help?
If that's possible, yes, because there's a few
Put them in the
questions
chat.
from, yeah, Raj and Mark have got some questions in there, so I think you can answer them perhaps you know, even email later or provide some wording for us to go out to people. So yes, if that's possible. Becky, can we introduce you, because I'm conscious that we just run over a little bit, but in fairness to Tim, I've always cut Tim very short, so I think we owe you that one, Tim. So in fairness,
and I shall make a note to myself: never ever follow Tim, because how do you follow broccoli? I mean, I ask you.
How do you, Becky? Indeed. And can I just also say that if anybody else has got any questions following Tim's presentation, even about broccoli, just pop it in the chat box and we'll pick it up afterwards. So thank you. And thank you, Tim. That was really, really interesting and very, again, very informative. Becky, did you want to introduce yourself? And thank you so much for agreeing to come and welcome.
No problem. Thanks, Christine. I shall just I have done some slides. So my name is Becky Booth. So I am Deputy Manager to Norfolk Safeguarding Adults Board. Are you seeing that? Can I just check?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just pop that up. So, okay. And then I can't see anyone. Yes, so I joined Norfolk Safeguarding Adult Board NSAB at the beginning of March last year, which is an excellent time to start. Just a very quick thing about my background. So I am a qualified social worker, and I've worked for Norfolk County Council in adult social care for 25 years before joining the board. So the board is a separate thing to Norfolk County Council. I'm always quite clear that there is that separation. And the last 10 years I've been working in the Safeguarding Adults team in Norfolk. So a lot of the information on these slides has come from my practice knowledge, if you like, and the work obviously that I've done with providers throughout my career and working with and to support. When Christy said, can you come and talk about safeguarding mental capacity, I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then I looked at it and thought, my goodness, they're two of the biggest, most complex subjects in the universe. So bear with this. I've basically picked out some bits. Some of the examples I use will appear very simplistic, but we could do 20 minutes on each slide. And thanks to Tim, I've got to kind of rush through. But perhaps, again, you can do the same thing if there are questions you want to ask and we don't get a chance. No, don't worry, Chris. If you don't get a chance to answer them, then I'm very happy to go into more detail. And it may well be that from today's conversation and any feedback that we get, you'll actually help the board to do some more work, kind of progressing our knowledge and understanding of the Mental Capacity Act in Norfolk. So I was thinking about this as a kind of subject, and obviously as managers, as leaders, there is a real need for you to have that confidence in your understanding in practice before you're essentially able to lead and guide your team, and even just to be able to assure yourself that your staff know what they're doing and that they're keeping people safe and they're applying the principles in the right way. Or if somebody comes to you with a sticky problem, you know, it's a bit awkward if you're not really quite sure yourself. So I think one of the things that we've really noticed as a board, and we've had quite a number of discussions this year, hearing from sort of local networks, so it's across all sectors, that there remains some kind of confusion about using the Act, or lack of confidence, or real variation in understanding and application of it. So the board has made it one of its priorities this year. And at the moment, we're trying to think of ways in which we're able to support people and sectors. And obviously that includes, you know, providers is quite a big chunk of that. I'm actually just working at the moment with St Thomas training, and we're looking at the safeguarding know-how for provider managers. Excuse me. So we're trying to make it a bit more Norfolk focused. We've talked about making some of the examples a bit more provider focused. And noted that it does cover aspects of the Mental Capacity Act in practice, but you do need to have a reasonable working knowledge before you go on that course. It's not really there to tell you the basics. And I guess what I would say quite strongly is, if you're not confident, if you're not sure, please seek out training, guidance, you know, support. And also, if there are specific things, if there is training, if there are materials, you know, you tell us what will help you most for yourselves as managers, for your staff, what helps you most to really understand and put into practice the Mental Capacity Act, because it'll help us to kind of you know, guide what we want to do next, or what we're able to do perhaps in 2022. I have done so a bit like, I wish I was as good as Pete actually, and I feel like I need one of those videos where I could walk you through, because I dare not come out of this now and go onto the live website. But the Norfolk Safeguarding Adult Board also refreshed its website this year, or in the last year, and we've added a mental capacity and safeguarding area. I don't know if I can use my mouse, it will show you. So it's Norfolk Safeguarding Adults Board. It's under, I think it's protecting adults, working with adults at risk. You go to mental capacity and safeguarding, have a look there. Rather than doing a guidance document, I've actually done it as a web page, because there's quite a lot of information, and just sort of broken it down, looking at sort of, you know, how people confuse it with mental health, who does assessments. There are examples there. Under the mental capacity and safeguarding page, there is a link to the new Bournemouth University mental capacity toolkit, which is a bit bulky, but it's actually quite a good tool to kind of start you off and get you thinking about it and really work through some examples to kind of embed it. So if there's anything as well, if you look at that and think, oh, it's not really for us, or it doesn't go into enough detail about this, let us know. We're a very small team, so essentially myself and one of the board coordinators, we do all the content, so we can change it, tweak it. You know, if there's something that you come across that you found really useful, again, tell us, we can put it on there. And I think I'm going to going to be trying to work on a kind of provider section on the website as well, but it's hours in the day like everything else. So do have a look, see if that's helpful, and kind of get yourself up to speed on those things. It's just really a reminder about the fact the Mental Capacity Act, it's been around since 2005. So one of the things we're almost struggling to understand, I suppose, from a kind of board perspective, is what are the barriers to really getting it embedded? You know, what are the things that make it difficult to apply and practice? I talked about it's a legal framework for acting and making decisions for adults who lack capacity. So it's a very protective framework. It is there to make sure that we're not just making blanket decisions for people, that we're not doing it, you know, in the wrong way. It's making sure that we're looking at what would that person have decided to do if they had capacity themselves. What can we do to be as supportive as possible to help them make that decision? So it's really about empowering people, and there's a bit more about that as we go along. One of the things I realised as well is Mental Capacity Act and Mental Capacity Assessment are often sort of conflated, brought together, and actually they are two very different things. As I've put there, assessment is a feature of the Act, but the principles of the Acts actually tell us how to use the assessment. Hopefully you're all aware of these. I'm not going to labour them. And I just remembered as well, we have these little cards which I'm going to unclip. So we have some little Mental Capacity Act. You won't be able to see that, actually, it's far too small. But it's like a little credit card with mental capacity principles and then very roughly the kind of considerations. If you're needing any of these, if you've not seen them before, you have seen them and like them, again, I'll put my email address in the chat and you can let us know. So the board pay for lots of these to be printed. And they can sometimes help people just go over the very simple bits. So for me, one of the main ones is the presumed capacity, and I sometimes like to frame that as don't assume incapacity, and I think that can be one of the biggest mistakes that I see made, particularly in provider services, is that kind of blanket or there can be an assumption that people don't have capacity, whereas you actually really have to start from the other way around. Making every effort to make sure people have their information. Yes, our associate. Hopefully all that is very well known to you. I was thinking about the kind of decisions. So again, not going to labour on this, but this was just, I sort of literally thought, okay, you know, I'm using residential care or being at home, you know, but there are no blanket decisions. Each action or intervention is decision specific, time specific, all those things. So literally each of those things you need to consider as a separate decision and potential best interest decision. Then I was thinking about how it makes a difference, and this relates to safeguarding in as much as you are respecting people's human rights. You're preventing harm and abuse by taking away decisions for them or harm happening to people. But there are bits where if you're using the Mental Capacity Act properly, it means that staff are really thinking about the person, not just the task to be undertaken or the function that they're there to go and do. So it is about actually promoting really good quality person-centred care. And it also helps us to support people that may not be able to make those big decisions about where do I live or, you know, who looks after my finances. But it's about allowing them to still have some control over their lives as adults. And I think we all know how we feel when control is taken away from us. And the pandemic has been a fairly horrendous example of that. So this is just a reminder that it might be very small things to that person. It could be allowing them to choose what colour shirt they wear that day. But don't underestimate the power of giving people even a small piece of control back, rather than just making that assumption they can't do it. And it prompts us to really think about what life has been like in the past of the person. So I put an example there about someone never using a shower and appears to be really frightened of it. So again, about thinking about blanket best interest decision. A best interest decision in its terms, you know, thinking about the Act really is what would that person have done if they still had capacity? And you're trying to restore that ability, that right to them as far as you can. I put some, and again, you'll get these slides, so I'm sorry to sort of skim them a bit, but so some are just really sort of examples of things that you might see. So again, Mr. B lacks capacity. Avoid generic statements. Need to be clear about exactly what they lack capacity about it. Most people can make some decisions. Number 2 was just where it's kind of been brought together. So talking about in his best interest, helping him to wash, dress and take medication. Those should be separated out. Ideally, you might have one high level sort of sentence, but it needs to be shown that the assessment has been done against each specific decision. And then the third one was kind of around unwise choices. So it was saying that, okay, Mr. B won't take his medication, has capacity to make the decision, but you still need to show exactly why you believe he has capacity, and particularly where the decision is something that could have quite a negative impact on them. So, for example, not taking medication, depending on the impact of that, you need to make sure ideally the prescriber's been involved. You need to make sure he's, show why he's clear, he knows what the consequences are, and it still doesn't absolve or absolve you of the responsibility to think about how can you mitigate that. And I've got a quick example of that if we get to it. So thinking about safeguarding mental capacity, it's really common, and I've done it myself as a safeguarding practice consultant. Sort of safeguarding issue comes up and you ring up manager or carer and you say, do they have capacity? It's better, I'm not that anymore. So, but yes, so from a social care perspective, they should really be saying, do they have capacity to understand what has happened and to be able to make a decision about what they want to happen next? It gets shortened to that, do they have capacity? You can go back and say, can you be clear about what you're asking? So there's no harm in challenging that and going back and saying exactly what context do you mean? But that's what you're being asked is, do they understand what's happened and can they make a decision about what happens next? It's also very important because the Mental Capacity Act makes it a criminal offence to ill-treat or neglect somebody who lacks mental capacity. So the police will ask that. Again, the police, MASH police tend to be a bit better, but often your average police officer will not have a deep understanding of the Mental Capacity Act. They may well be asking you those generic statements. Feel free to go back and ask him what decision is it you are asking them. You're asking about their capacity. I just want to give a really quick example for those of you that have read or seen information about the recent SAR, Joanna, John and Ben. One of the reasons mental capacity was mentioned in relation to that was around decisions that both Joanna and Ben were telling staff they didn't want to use their CPAP machines, so that the continuous positive airway pressure machines. And staff kind of went, oh, that's rather, they have capacity, they're able to make that choice. But there is this thing about unwise decisions. You have to be really, really clear that you've gone through all the possible consequences and that you've thought about how you might support them to make better choices. But you cannot just kind of walk away and go, well, that's their decision. You need to really show how you've worked it through and what you've considered. Really sorry, Christine. I'm gonna try and whiz. This is there's not very many slides. Organisational safeguarding. So this was just an example of where if you're not using the Mental Capacity Act in the right way and considering people's personal choices, you end up with this terribly rigid kind of routine, potentially in a care provider, in a care home. And I have seen this over and over again, and it drives me insane with electronic systems where the wrong names in care plans text has been copied and pasted, particularly around mental capacity. So one huge plea about that, it's really awful to see, because it means you haven't actually thought about that person as a unique individual adult. And I say I've been out of practice now for 18 months, so hopefully those things don't happen. I've got a quick example about good practice there, trying to think about more positive things, and there was just a little bit around how you might make a best interest decision based on a person's past history. So thinking about somebody with diet-controlled diabetes, has a sweet tooth. Before she had a dementia, always did eat sweets and cakes and things. So you end up with a robust best interest decision that says, do you know what, Alice wants to enjoy life and this is what she always did. Let's support her to do that. But you make sure there's a kind of safety net approach there, and are very clear about what you're going to do if things change and how you're going to support that. I was just 3 things for you. So just a reminder about, please tell us what would help you most. I'm sorry, this has been a kind of absolute whistle stop, but we are, as a board, and certainly me, given the work I used to do, I'm really, really, really keen to help you, you know, get this right and make Norfolk, you know, let's really get Norfolk up there. So there's my email address, and I'll pop it in the chat as well. To tell me what you think would help you as providers to really make a difference, what would support you as managers, what would support your staff. Really make sure your own training is up to date as possible. Actually goes for safeguarding obviously as well, and have a look at our website. And then I put a thing about questions because I thought we might get loads of time, but that isn't going to happen. So let me stop sharing. There we go.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you so much. And I do appreciate you condensing all that wonderful information into such a short period of time. But our next provider meeting, I think we'll give much more time to you to expand out. I think this is such an important area, and it's something that comes up regularly from providers that they would like more support around Mental Capacity Act. So I think that's something that we can do.
We'll put you on first, Becky.
Yes, and actually we'll actually give her just a lot longer time and give an emphasis to this area of work. So, but we will, Becky, if you could provide the presentation as well to Megan, we can make sure that that goes out as well to everyone. Thank you, and thank you so much, Becky. Yes, yeah, absolutely. So thank you everybody for coming. I'm so sorry that, you know, we've had to sort of end it so quickly because it's been so absorbing, and there's so many fantastic pieces of information that we've been provided with today. We'll ensure all those presentations go out to you. Megan will do her usual wizardry on our on the recording, and we'll make sure you get a link for that as well. So please do make sure, if there's any other questions that you think from today that you want us to answer, then please do forward them to us, and then we'll ensure that we divvy them out to the right people to answer.